Sidelines with Rob Browne. Talk sporty to me.
All right, Rob Browne with you on this Saturday, broadcasting live from Lake Martin, down here, beautiful Lake Martin in Alabama. Parts unknown. No coordinates, please. I'm live here with Doug Dean, Frank Duffy, and also members of Doug Dean's family and extended family. And we got Milo the dog here, along with Delta and Bailey. This is quite a scene we have down here. We got Stat Tiger, Stuart Carter on the phone with us. Going to start off. Jimmy Hodge has checked in from Knoxville. Be joined in the second segment. Kevin Skarbinski, one of the best writers, sports writers around, the Birmingham Lead, and also coach safely.org. In hour number 2, Buddy Martin, the coach, will join us, GatorbaitMedia.com from down in Ocala, Florida. And I tell you what, Doug, it's good that your son-in-law is a neurosurgeon, because a lot of people are questioning, have you lost your mind picking Auburn to win this game against LSU tonight? Hold that Tiger. The Golden Girls are coming. And I'm telling you, when I talk about the Golden Girls, I'm not talking about Estelle Getty's and Maude. I would rather go to Siberia in exile than have to spend 5 minutes with those old bats. But anyway, Stuart Carter, the Stat Tiger, is on with us right now. And Stuart, we have a question from one of our listeners in the audience. Carl, would you like to talk to Stat Tiger?
I kind of wanted to talk to the Stat Tiger. Listen, reckon you got any good thing to eat in there before you tell me how Auburn gonna beat LSU?
Yeah, I got a few mustard biscuits for you.
All right, okay, Stuart, let's get going right now. Sidelines will be with you for the next 2 hours, as we are Monday through Saturday. Love it. Also 680thefan.com, the podcast park in Atlanta. Kicks 96.3, Alexander City, Lake Martin, part of the RadioAlabama group. Lee Perryman and the wonderful folks over there in Sylacauga, the marble capital of the world. To everybody out there listening, all of you in Florida, in Georgia, and the Carolinas that have been hit by that hurricane, we're keeping you in our prayers. If anybody wants to text us or send a message during the show of how we can send support down to the folks on the ground where that hurricane hit, we're ready to help you. As always, we want to do that for you. Stat Tiger, speaking of storms coming Auburn's way, it's LSU. Frank Duffy had a question, and only you would know this. In the Auburn-LSU series, and it's been a weird one, when was the last time the road team went to the visitors' stadium and curb stomped them?
I guess I know Auburn had the big win in '99, Tuberville.
Yeah, you know about that. Yeah, but I'm talking about LSU coming to Auburn and doing that.
Oh, yeah, I can't think of one right offhand.
I couldn't
Okay.
Tiger.
So all those people that are questioning whether Doug Dean is a living brain donor, and he's not. He's very smart. He's a great forecaster, and I'm telling you, he did this calculation. I don't think he's far off. The last time everybody thought Auburn was going to just be a public beheading was 2012. LSU came to Auburn, and the Tigers fought down to the very end. It was 12-10. LSU won. So Stuart Carter, inside the Auburn Tigers, one of the smarter people around, more rational, as is Doug Dean. Very smart, Frank Duffy. Let's make that case, Auburn versus LSU.
I'd kind of want something good to eat in there anyway.
Well, when it comes to most Southeastern Conference games, especially when Auburn matches up with LSU, it's usually a very physical contest. And obviously, when you're talking about the physicality of a ball game, usually the running games are imperative for both teams. Looking at the rushing numbers, just to give you an example, since '92, when the conference first expanded to 12 teams in the SEC championship format, in the Auburn-LSU series, the team that rushes for 55% or more of the combined rushing totals, Auburn is 10 wins and 2 losses, And when they don't, LSU won 14 times and only lost 4. And I don't think this game's going to be any different. I know LSU's down their starting running back, so that might be an advantage Auburn can take advantage of, tonight. But I think the running games are going to be imperative. Now, the concern for Auburn is they're not running the ball very well. And starting Robbie Ashford again for the second consecutive time, they were very vanilla on offense last week. And I think they got to open up the passing game just a little bit more, especially on first down. Last week, Auburn, I think, had 25 first down snaps. And out of those 25, 80% of them were runs where they gained 2 yards per play. And Robbie Ashford was 5 out of 5 passing on first down for 76 yards. So they averaged well over 15 yards per play. And I think it's imperative Auburn has to pass the ball 30, 35% of the time on first down tonight, or they're going to be held under 17 points again very easily. And it'll play into the hands of LSU.
Well, Stuart, the Vulcan, TJ Finley, is not playing in this game today. Robbie Ashford, he will until he's not. Holden Gehringer is a freshman. I mean, that's difficult. He won a state championship in high school last year, but he's not in Kansas anymore. And then I look at Zach Calzada. He's out for the rest of the year, injured. Auburn quarterback situation. When was the last time you saw it look like this? I mean, it looks like the bar scene in the Star Wars movie.
I've been following Auburn football since the mid '70s, and I've never seen our quarterback situation look like this. The irony though is normally it's the pocket passers that get hurt, and it's the guys that are mobile that avoid injury. But it's just been a stroke of bad luck. Getting back to the game itself, I've got a statistical model that I normally use to project Auburn games. And I've been doing it for almost 17 years now. And basically, just to give you, so you'll be tracking what I'm about to say, if Auburn, say, plays Buffalo and they gain 500 yards of total offense in a big victory, it would have been expected because Buffalo's a weaker team and Auburn was the heavy favorite. And 500 yards sounds like a lot of yardage, but if you look at what Buffalo normally gives up, if they're giving up 475 yards per game to everybody, then 500 yards gained by Auburn really is not a whole lot. It's not very impressive. So with that in mind, the formula I use, and I don't normally start using it until about the 4th game of the season, and that's because there's so much more data to work with. So in this case, this is actually the first time I'm going to use the statistical model in 2022 in picking Auburn games. So I tossed out the FCS games both opponents played. So both teams have played 3 FBS opponents. LSU's average score in those ball games is 31-13, and Auburn's is 18-24. So Auburn currently right now in their 3 FBS games, they're scoring 7% below what the opposition normally allows, while LSU's offense is scoring 53% more. On defense, Auburn is holding their opposition to 22% below their normal scoring average, and LSU's defense is holding their opponent to 57% below their scoring average. So you have 2 scoring averages, LSU's average score 31-13, Auburn's 18-24. You compare that to the scoring margins of both teams, and it gives you a statistical model of 2 scores. So it favors LSU in both aspects in a game that's as close as 24-12 and as bad as 37-8 for Auburn. And I normally average the scores, and the average score in this case is LSU 30, Auburn 10. So it heavily favors LSU. In fact, my pick this week, I picked LSU to win 31-13, and I can break that down later on and explain why I came to that, not just the scoring margins. Now, I will say this, out of curiosity, I thought about this last night, and I went back through, for Inside the Auburn Tigers, I've been picking Auburn games this will be my 17th year. So I went back through and I looked at how many times have I picked Auburn to lose by 17 points or more since 2006. And I've done it 14 times. And I've been right 13 out of 14 times. They ended up losing by at least 17 points in 13 of the 14 games. The only one I got wrong was the 2009 Ole Miss game where I picked Ole Miss to win by more than 17, and Auburn ended up winning that game by 13. But, you know, it is true, though, and Rob, you and I have talked about this before. It's not how they match up on paper. It's how they match up on the day they play. And this will be a loud atmosphere tonight. Night games in Jordan-Hare. It's just the fans just come at a different level. But the team has to give them a reason to keep loud throughout the whole game. And I really believe this game is going to be a highly contested, tight game in the first half. My concern is Auburn's recent history of not doing well in the second half, especially on offense. But we'll see how this plays out.
Stuart, Doug Dean here. First of all, it's an honor to talk to a math whiz like you. You got past those 4 basic operations in math, I suspect, when you were matriculating through school. And just for the record, Rob, I agreed to let the show have fun at my expense. We had a security breach at my newsletter in which I picked Auburn to pull the shocker 23-20 with a walk-off field goal by Anders Carlson at the end. If only I had enormous confidence in that pick. But my basis is not so much data-driven like yours is. And for people that step out to wager a little bit, listen to Stuart Carter, the Stat Tiger, not me, because chalk should be a pretty handily won LSU game just because they're stronger. They look ascendant to me. I think Brian Kelly, after that stumble in the opener against FSU, he's got them playing really well in the trenches. They've got wide receivers that would be the envy of most teams. Jaden Daniels, although he's young, has got a 73% completion rate, and he got rich on a couple of weaker sisters, but still he looked really good against Mississippi State. So my question, my pick is laced with homerism, like a double shot of Jack Daniels wafting from the stands in Death Valley. And but I wonder, where in your model, Stuart, I'm tongue in cheek a little bit, but where in your model do you factor in the freaking weirdness of this series and the things that can throw chalk out the window and cause, for example, if you get an Auburn punt block and run in for a TD early in this game and the crowd is insanely fired up, how does a Jaden Daniels with his youth deal with that? And so the X factor is the basis of my pick.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I will tell you this now. I haven't kept track of my record on gut feelings, and I do have a gut feeling that Auburn's going to play a lot better even than my projection. When I do my picks, I just try to stick to the facts for the most part and try to give a reasonable so I don't come off as a homer. But you're exactly right. This atmosphere in Jordan-Hare, I just go back to last year. After that Georgia State game, I just didn't see us winning a conference game after that. And, I mean, we looked that bad against Georgia State and as bad as we looked against Missouri last week, except for the defense. The defense played its best game of the year. And even looking at it statistically speaking, if you look at production on first down, Auburn is slightly better than LSU in terms of yards gained on first down. And LSU is slightly better on defense than Auburn. So it's almost a wash. And I tell people all the time that most games are won on first down. In fact, since 1990, Auburn has won 82% of their games when they average at least 6 yards per play on first down. And that's why earlier I stated this is a game where they have to allow Robbie Ashford to make plays passing the ball and throwing a little bit more on first down so they can stay ahead of the chains. And I'm telling you, if Auburn can do that, because 45% of all the plays during a given college game is on first down. And if Auburn can manage that first down to where they're averaging over 6 yards per play, for the most part, they'll be playing downhill offensive football. The third down situations will be more manageable. I believe in the Penn State game, our average distance to convert was a little over 10 yards. And last week against Missouri, it was 9.7 yards. It's just ridiculous. That's not winning football. You cannot move the ball downfield if you're facing 3rd and 9, 3rd and 10 consistently. If Auburn can manage first down better, it will shorten the distance they have to convert on third down, and it will limit the number of third down opportunities. And this game can quickly change if that happens for Auburn. And it's a good start for them if they manage to win the first down battle.
Well, Stat Tiger, this is Frank Duffy, LSU fan. I got to get in character. Hang on one second. I got to do my Woodford Reserve and my coffee. I'd hate to disappoint the hey, Michael Jordan, Woodford Reserve, Jack Daniels. I wouldn't turn any of it down. I assure you. I got to stay in character here, but I have to tell you, there is absolutely no doubt in my mind something anecdotal will throw your numbers right out of the freaking window, because I don't think calculus works when the girders of a stadium is burning down because there's a barn that's torched and there's flames that are shooting 6 stories into the night air. So there's no telling what's going to happen. I actually did take Auburn plus the points. That might not get me back to Louisiana. I might not be able to get back across the state line. I took the points only because I know what happens in this series. I think critically, and I'd like for you to speak to this after we get back from break, but can you speak to Tank Bigsby? Because I think he holds the key to this game. If Auburn can run the ball, I think it's going to be critically important for them to do that. And I think if Bigsby comes back and plays the form like he did last year, this is the type of game where they can control the ball, and it'll make it much tougher for LSU. The team that runs the ball, like you said earlier, and controls the line of scrimmage is going to be the team that wins this ball game.
Oh, no doubt. Stuart, hold your thoughts, because we're going to get back, and I know Jimmy wants to talk as well. We're going to take a quick break. We're broadcasting live from Lake Martin. Everybody listening on Kicks 96.3, Alexander City, Lake Martin. Thank you, thank you, thank you. We'll be right back.
Red River Ford and Toyota, located in Wynne, Arkansas. If you're in the market for a new or used car, truck, or SUV, call, go online, or drop by and see them. Located 45 minutes from Memphis, go off the 4 City exit on I-40 and go north about 15 minutes on Highway 1. Easy to work with and still believe in customer service. If you live out of town, they will deliver your vehicle to you. RedRiverFordToyota.com. Just see what they can do.
Strengthen your seed zone this spring with quality tillage equipment from House Industries. Located in Cherry Valley, Arkansas, House Industries specializes in manufacturing superior equipment that will minimize your downtime and keep you working in the field. To ensure the highest quality control, all design, fabrication, and testing takes place in a 99,000 square foot manufacturing facility located right here in the heart of the Delta. Locate your nearest House equipment dealer online at houseindustriesinc.com.
House Industries, breaking ground.
Sidelines with Rob Browne. Talk sporty to me.
Hi, Rob Browne back with you from Lake Martin with Doug Dean, Frank Duffy, my producer, and wife, Audrey, here with us. Jimmy Hodge up in Knoxville. Stat Tiger across the Chattahoochee. The land of Class 4 and Class 5 rapids, downtown Columbus, Georgia. It's unbelievable. Whitewater rafting, folks. You won't believe Columbus when you go back. I know a lot of you came in on the big gray bus from the Atlanta airport for basic training. Didn't really like it too much. You ought to go back and visit it now. But anyway, Stat Tiger's with us. He's on fire. Frank Duffy, that Woodford Reserve smells so good. With all due respect to our dear friend Michael Jordan back at the Cherry Farm, who is out there right now on the big black barrel, probably knocking out 8 slabs of ribs, boudin, chicken wings, brats, and brisket, which he nurses at 1 pound, 1 hour. But anyway, I digress. Save some for post game. Here we are, Frank.
Well, no, I was just saying again, LSU's defense has really improved since that first game against Florida State. And I was in Tiger Stadium watching my Tigers play against Mississippi State, and the game plan that House brought against a Mike Leach offense, which is extremely potent, was very impressive. But when you get Auburn running the football, which again, Auburn can do well. When Auburn goes, now again, I get it. Their offensive line is not Auburn standards as it was in the past, but Tank Bigsby is the type of runner that can take over a game. And to Rob's point, if you're in Jordan Hare and Auburn Jesus is there, and all hell's breaking loose. And they control that line of scrimmage. So can you speak to what you see in the running game that could allow Auburn to win the running game? And if that happens, I think you're going to be in for one of the typical close endings in an LSU Auburn series.
Yeah, Frank, I mean, you hit it right on the head. If you just look at the last decade by both teams, LSU and Auburn, in conference play, when both teams are held under 130 yards rushing, Auburn has won 5 and lost 24. LSU has won 8 and lost 19. So both teams have not had much success when they could not establish their running game. And I don't want to make light of the thing going on with the Miami Dolphins and the concussion protocol thing, but it almost feels like this year's offensive line, which is virtually last year's offensive line, it almost feels like the entire line is concussed and they all suffer from gross motor stability. It's been so inconsistent. And you're right. Normally with, Tank is in the best shape he's been in since he's been at Auburn. Jarquez Hunter is a great number 2 running back. And normally with a two-headed monster like this coming into a game like this, playing at home, I would favor Auburn for that very reason. But we ran for 82 yards on 45 attempts last week. And now here's the thing I'm going to tell you to watch for. And this now comes down to scheme. Yeah. Since Harsin has taken over the offense in the last year and a half, to help out the offensive line, you're seeing more 2 and 3 tight end formations. The problem with that is when they're adding those extra tight formations with the extra bodies up at the line, and so you have your 5 offensive linemen, and we'll just say in this example, 2 tight ends, and it's lined up tight. You're bringing more defenders now into the box. I really believe, and I watched this closely against the Missouri game, every time we got into tight formations, we didn't do a whole lot. The linemen aren't blocking well, and the tight ends aren't blocking well. And now you just have this mass tight formation with a bunch of bodies, and Auburn can't make a push, cannot create a seam for these running backs to run through. What I saw when we went to 3 and 4 wide receiver sets, which forces the defense to commit 4 to 5 defenders in the passing game, and suddenly now you're blocking only 6 or 7 in the box. And you add Robbie Ashford to the mix, Auburn ends up being +1 inside the box when it comes to the running game. And that's the big thing I'm going to watch for. I don't know if they'll make that commitment or adjustment tonight against LSU. If we see a lot of tight formations with 2 tight ends, I just don't think Auburn's going to be able to run the ball very well. But if they spread LSU out, it could change things.
Stuart Carter, there's one guy that gives us all hope. That's Jimmy Hodge. He is a devoted follower of Jordan-Hare voodoo. And if Auburn has a chance to win, Jimmy's going to make us feel good about ourselves. Kind of like Ward Cleaver, when Ward Cleaver would talk to Wally and the Beeve, he would make everything okay. Jimmy, make this okay.
Well, let me tell you this. Anytime there's an SEC matchup that takes place at Jordan-Hare, you can just automatically throw chalk out the window.
Thank you, Jimmy. Thank you, God.
Somebody's coming from behind.
I mean, you can't even make up the number of bizarre, weird plays that took place last week. I mean, even Reese Davis on SEC Network said it was the only stadium on earth where this stuff could have happened. Yeah. and it's happened for decades. It's just, I don't know what it is. But, yeah, I've got to say, Stuart, that it's going to be a real obstacle for Auburn to average 6 yards a carry or a play on first down when you're in their current situation. I mean, I think a big factor to consider is that Jalen Daniels is going to have his 34th start as a college quarterback today, and I think Robbie Ashford is starting his second game at the Division I level. Might be off a game or two, but that's a big difference when you're playing in this kind of environment, this kind of atmosphere where I think there's just tremendous pressure on Auburn. There was a lot of uncertainty anyway, because we all know in this current day and age of college football, quarterback is the most important position that there is. And, Auburn's just been hit hard by injuries, and it just makes life tough when you only have one guy that has any experience at all, and he's come from another program, so he's still getting acclimated to the Auburn scheme. And everything you said about the fact that if you're lining up with 2 or 3 tight ends, it's just going to bring more guys in the box defensively. And then secondly, it's going to give the defensive coordinator and the secondary confidence that they can do that without having to worry about the possibility of getting beat deep, because when you've got 3 tight ends, those are 3 potential receivers that aren't lining up wide. And so I think it is Auburn's best shot to do everything possible to establish the running game, because that's their strength. And you've got, young receivers that are still learning the game at this level, because it's not only the toughest conference in college football they're playing in, it's by far the toughest division. So there are a lot of things that are involved coming into this game, a lot of intangibles, whereas LSU, as Frank mentioned, man, they're playing with a lot of confidence. I mean, Brian Kelly in just 4 weeks has done a tremendous job in really establishing a hard-nosed, smash-mouth, line of scrimmage oriented type of football that brings about and develops toughness.
Jimmy, that was our
And
defensive
Daniels,
performance
now,
in 5
I will
years,
say this,
hands down.
yeah, Daniels obviously is not a great passer, but he's such a tremendous runner that he often, after he goes back to throw, and if that primary receiver's not open, more often than not, he's going to look for a place to run. That can cause defenders, especially in the secondary, to abandon their original assignments, because Daniels is such a threat if he sees open space to run 15 or 20 yards. And it gives the secondary guys a really tough decision to make, whether to stay with that receiver or let this guy run for 20, 25 yards. So it's really an interesting matchup, and the coaching strategy in this game is going to be fascinating to watch, I think.
Oh, no doubt. And I think those are great points. And again, going back to the first down game, in the last 2 games, in Auburn's 2 Power 5 games, Auburn's running the ball 68% of the time on first down. And like I said, last week it was epic. It was 80%. And so they're averaging just a little over 3 yards per rush on first down. And they're averaging 9.3 yards per pass attempt. And that's why I truly believe that if they'll open up the passing game a little bit more on first down, and you're exactly right, there's a huge advantage in the experience of both starting quarterbacks tonight. So with Auburn playing with Robbie Ashford, if you're going to throw, it's better to throw when you want to than when you have to, especially with an inexperienced quarterback. And so if it would be better that Ashford by the end of the night had more pass attempts on first down than he did third down. And speaking of third down for Auburn this year, they're 114th nationally in converting third downs. However, when it comes to third down situations of 6 yards or less, they're converting 51%. And when it comes to 7 yards or greater, it's 15%. And again, this all comes back to first down. If Auburn can average, and it doesn't have to hit that 6 yard mark, if they hit a little over 5 yards per play, and when they get to third down, and if they're more manageable, 3rd and 4, 3rd and 5 or less, then Auburn's going to have a higher conversion rate, which means they're going to stay on the field longer, and it also means they're going to move the ball and move the chains. If they don't win the first down battle, it's just not much of a shot for them to win tonight, and that's for just about any team. but especially for Auburn right now, they just don't have an explosive passing game. But I think they got to cut loose. They got to cut Ashford loose tonight to be a little bit more aggressive on offense so they can score enough points.
Stuart, great take as always. And I want to move from audience, please listen to, if you want to be data driven, listen to Stat Tiger. But Stat Tiger is also smart enough to be willing to talk about intangibles in some of these big rivalry games. I was joking with my new good LSU friend, the Duff, I call him, Frank Duffy, who, by the way, owes me something, maybe a beer in Baton Rouge next go round, because we rescued him from having to bring Bingo One, his RV, with 70-mile-an-hour gale force winds from the state of Georgia. So glad to have you here, Duff. But I digress. The intangible to me is, if you on paper, there is absolutely every reason to believe that as a head coach in his first year at the great LSU program, Brian Kelly is feeling pretty good about the direction of things. There's every reason to believe that Brian Harsin, if deep in his marrow, has to feel shaky at best about his future. It may be that he already suspects, if not knows, that he's not back next year, because we don't even need your statistical help in a week, Stuart, if you know what I mean. We can figure that one out. And so my question is, but I've been in the wild and I've hunted animals, and at the end of the day, human beings are animals when you're talking about competitive matchups. And sometimes an animal that is absolutely outmatched, if backed into a corner, is extremely dangerous.
A wounded tiger is a very bad foe.
And so my question is, does Brian Harsin have it in him to throw caution to the wind and do some things, take some risks that, to your point on throwing on first down when you're going to be really uncomfortable asking Ashford to do that, or trying some punt blocks, some things that would shake things up? You got to figure out a way early to somehow make LSU uncomfortable. So talk about those intangibles, Stuart.
Oh, I agree. One of the things I looked at in Auburn's 3 FBS games, you normally average around 12 possessions per game. And so in the 3 FBS games Auburn has played this year, the Tigers have averaged only 3.5 possessions per game where they netted 40-plus yards on offense. And out of those 11 combined possessions from all 3 games, they only scored on 54% of them. And that's just not a successful formula for scoring a whole lot of points. So now you're talking about field position, because even if you gain 40-plus yards of offense, if you started off at your own 15, you're just crossing over to midfield, and you're probably not even in the field goal range. And we saw last week against Missouri, Auburn had a long drive, 14 plays, all run plays, scored a touchdown. Then they get the big turnover deep in Missouri's territory, and they only have to go 28 yards for a touchdown.
Short field.
Those are the short fields that are created by turnovers and special teams. And it's hard to predict those. Now, I will say this. Auburn finally forced their first turnovers against Missouri. They went 3 games straight without forcing any turnovers. So if you're looking at trends, I'm not expecting LSU or Auburn to get a lot of turnovers tonight. Obviously, that would benefit them if they did. But if they could make special team plays, Auburn came really close to blocking a punt last week against Missouri.
Yeah.
And I think, a play like that can turn this game very quickly. And as much as that I'm stat driven when it comes to forecasting Auburn games, I've watched enough Auburn football, and I've seen a lot of games of Jordan Hare, and everyone that's saying that this mojo, it exists. Can't explain it, but everyone that watches Southeastern Conference football and has seen some of the wackiest and craziest games at Jordan Hare knows that you can throw out all the numbers when it comes to this, and this could just be a massive dogfight going all the way down to the end. Rob, you mentioned the 2012 game. Everyone in the world thought LSU was just going to wipe them off the face of the earth. And in fact, that was the game I always felt like Gene Chizik lost the team, when they had that late 4th down near midfield and they didn't go for it. And I think it was almost like he was good with the moral victory. And I think he lost the team after that, because as hard as that defense played, they played well enough to win the game. And I think Auburn's defense is good enough to play well enough tonight to win the game, but eventually you got to score points to have an opportunity to win.
I agree. Hey, Stuart, look, we run out of time for this segment. We got Kevin Skarbinski coming up next, but absolutely, you knocked it out of the park. And knowing what you do in your career and with this, it's just powerful stuff. And tell people real quick, we got about 25 seconds before the break, how they can follow you and keep up with you, all the great work.
24/7, and it's Inside the Auburn Tiger. I got a couple weekly features on there, post quite a bit there also. Follow me on Twitter, Stat Tiger at Stat Tiger, and Stat Tiger on YouTube. I got a video channel solely based on Auburn football.
All right, Stuart, absolutely love it. Look forward to having you back on here again with us every time possible next week again. We're going to do this. We're going to take a quick break. Be right back with Kevin Skarbinski, the Birmingham lead and coach safely on this Saturday edition of Sidelines.
Red River Ford and Toyota, located in Wynne, Arkansas. If you're in the market for a new or used car, truck, or SUV, call, go online, or drop by and see them. Located 45 minutes from Memphis, go off the 4-city exit on I-40 and go north about 15 minutes on Highway 1. Easy to work with and still believe in customer service. If you live out of town, they will deliver your vehicle to you. RedRiverFordToyota.com. Just see what they can do.
Strengthen your seed zone this spring with quality tillage equipment from House Industries. Located in Cherry Valley, Arkansas, House Industries specializes in manufacturing superior equipment that will minimize your downtime and keep you working in the field. To ensure the highest quality control, all design, fabrication, and testing takes place in a 99,000 square foot manufacturing facility located right here in the heart of the Delta. Locate your nearest House equipment dealer online at houseindustriesinc.com.
House Industries, breaking ground.
Sidelines with Rob Browne. Talk sporty to me.
All right, Rob Browne back here with you on this Saturday, beautiful Saturday, football Saturday, week 5. Great stuff with Stat Tiger. Man, I tell you what, breaking down the numbers. He can do it for all the SEC schools, and I've had him do it for a number of schools and trends in college football. And want to say hello to a couple of listeners. Robert Dream Weaver gets the award today for our listener from the farthest distance, Peace River, Alberta, Canada. 42-hour drive, and believe me, they drive duck and goose hunting guide service, and they are whacking them and stacking them by the thousands up there. And also our good friend Dave Cody, listening out in Bellingham, Washington. Dave's older brother Bill was an All-American at Auburn, linebacker, lived over in Columbus for a long time. Now Kevin Skarbinski's with us right now. Yes. Kevin, you talk about a great writer, and Kevin, we just kind of broke down that Auburn game. There's another big one today. Alabama is at Arkansas. Want to get your thoughts on that, and also what you think about what's going on in the 11 a.m. timeout game. But you got Sean McDonough and Todd Blackledge. That's a big-time broadcasting crew over in Oxford for Ole Miss and Kentucky. But, again, first off, I always like to say this. Kevin's probably been up since about 5, rowing, running, biking, swimming, something like that with his boys. But thanks for taking time out of your Saturday to join us. We really, really appreciate it.
Well, good morning, everyone. It's always great to be with you guys on a Saturday morning. You know, with Auburn Jesus meeting that voodoo that LSU do so well tonight, I expect full crazy today in college football. I don't know what it'll be. I don't know if it'll be in Oxford or Fayetteville or down in Auburn, but whenever those two teams play, you expect something wild and wacky and bizarre to happen. So I fully expect that it's going to be that kind of day somewhere, or maybe in multiple places today across the country.
It's that first Saturday in October. I understand Carl Childers of Sling Blade fame will be singing the national anthem and doing the coin toss. Talk about weird. It's going to be fun. Kevin, this is what we love about college football, man. I mean, Jimmy Hodge up in Knoxville. I'm here at Lake Martin, down here and you remember, I'm sure you remember those great days of going to Stillwater's with Coach Don, the card playing and the drinking and the shenanigans and the fun. That's the good old days that we need to get back. because that's what gets us hooked on sports. But Kevin, man,
and you know what? Hey, Rob, let me jump in there.
Yeah,
I do remember those days. And you know what? One of the major differences between college football then and now in the coaching profession was that's how you got to know coaches. You got to spend time with them away from game week, away from game day, away from the office, away from press conferences. You got to talk to them as people, see them as people. They saw you as an individual, not as a member of the quote unquote media, the evil media. And that's been lost to a great degree. And I understand why. Coaches make more money than ever, so they're more guarded than ever than they used to be. And also there are more people under that big tent called media, and not everyone is professional and responsible. So I get that, but I think something really valuable has been lost in terms of opportunities to build relationships with coaches and media members. And I think the sport and the journalism profession are both lesser for it.
Kevin, there's no strangers over bourbon on the veranda. There are no strangers at all.
Hey,
Well
Kevin,
said,
Kevin, Thursday night, Doug and my wife Audrey and Frank and I had dinner up at Stillwater's, and afterwards we were out there at the outdoor bar. They had a guy on acoustic guitar playing. We ran into Coach Philip Lally. Just reminds you of just the alpha male, just tough, hard ass, driven, love their job, love being a mentor and coaching. And you write about that. So thank you. Let's get your thoughts, man, on this Alabama at Arkansas game. Want your thoughts on that? We'll kind of bounce it around, and then your thoughts after that on Ole Miss Kentucky, because this is great stuff. And I think the trend is going to shift back eventually, because who owns college football? As Buddy Martin always says, it's the fans. But talk about that Alabama at Arkansas game.
Well, Arkansas is, at least the fans must be feeling pretty good about themselves. Did you guys see the video from last night where they, I don't know if it was a formal pep rally or an informal get together,
Yes, it is.
Kevin, I would want to footnote. This is Doug Dean. I want to footnote as a compliment to the Razorbacks culture and fan base and leadership that I didn't see it coming. I bet I'm not alone. When Sam Pittman was the choice, it was not, if you will, one of the sexier hires on paper. I mean, you could have gone after any number of coaches that would be a big splash, but maybe that's a cautionary tale to programs like Georgia Tech and Auburn, that Auburn is almost certainly going to be in the coaching market in the months ahead, if not sooner. Maybe it's not the most important thing in the world to win the presser, Kevin. And we'll get Kevin back in a second, but we're rebooting, I believe. And so I guess the point I'm making is the metrics and figuring out the components of the personality, of leadership, of coaching excellence. Just not many after Nick Saban and Kirby Smart and maybe Brian Kelly. I think you run out of guys that you can call can't miss when you're the coaching hiring market, which is, as I said, is likely to happen at Auburn almost certainly.
Well, you're absolutely right, Doug. And at some point in time, you have to make the best hire that's in the best position for your program, as opposed to, like you say, winning the presser. It's not the sexy pick, but it's the pick that you can actually build your program back with. And you think of what Arkansas did. I can't remember a better coach that's a more perfect fit for a program than Sam Pittman for Arkansas. I mean, you got to remember the Hogs, I think, had only won 2 SEC games the previous 2 or 3 seasons. So, and think about this: without a missed field goal last week, you're talking about this is a huge game. It would be getting all the attention. We wouldn't have led with LSU Auburn. We would have led with Alabama and Arkansas. And Kevin, you speak to that. You obviously cover Alabama so much. But, Alabama going to play Arkansas. Alabama's kind of lucky they got Arkansas when they were a little off kilter. But it sounds like, from what you're saying, from the lead up to this game, Arkansas has got their swagger even with that loss, which kind of makes me even more impressed by Arkansas, right?
Kevin, now switching gears over to Oxford, the 11 a.m. game. I mean, that's coming up. They're about to do the Walk of Champions through the Grove. There, first off, Lane Kiffin is visibly upset about the fans leaving early from there. And I'm gonna tell you something. I know I'm old fashioned. You're damn right I am. I'm hardcore. But I expect my team to always play a full 60. I'm going to stay the full 60. There's nothing else that I want to do other than be at Jordan-Hare or at the Auburn game, wherever I am. And I'm not saying I'm special because of that. That's the way I was brought up. But the fans, well, they don't want to stay in the second half. It's boring. It's too sunny. Get over yourself, man. I mean, this is – and Kiffin is mad about it. And I'm telling you, I'm not going to say that'll be a reason why he'll look at other jobs, but they got to have the teams back. I want you to talk about that and that Ole Miss Kentucky game and see what your thoughts are. Yeah. And Kevin, we got to take a break real quick. Hold those thoughts, but I agree with you. The student section at Auburn last week all should get bonuses. I'm proud of them, and that your block seating's at stake. Stay the full 60. We'll be right back with more after this.
Red River Ford and Toyota, located in Wynne, Arkansas. If you're in the market for a new or used car, truck, or SUV, call, go online, or drop by and see them. Located 45 minutes from Memphis, go off the 4-city exit on I-40 and go north about 15 minutes on Highway 1. Easy to work with and still believe in customer service. If you live out of town, they will deliver your vehicle to you. RedRiverFordToyota.com. Just see what they can do.
Strengthen your seed zone this spring with quality tillage equipment from House Industries. Located in Cherry Valley, Arkansas, House Industries specializes in manufacturing superior equipment that will minimize your downtime and keep you working in the field. To ensure the highest quality control, all design, fabrication, and testing takes place in a 99,000 square foot manufacturing facility located right here in the heart of the Delta. Locate your nearest House equipment dealer online at houseindustriesinc.com.
House Industries, breaking ground.
Sidelines with Rob Browne. Talk sporty to me.
Okay, Rob Browne back here with you this Saturday. Man, we're having fun talking a lot of college football. And Kevin Skarbinski is on here with us, Jimmy Hodge, Doug Dean, Frank Duffy, Milo the dog. He's out somewhere. It's a Vizsla. This dog is a cool dog. Delta has him shaking. I don't know, the small dog. It's kind of crazy today. But Kevin, let's pick back up. Ole Miss, Kentucky today. Now the game on the field, and they better be there for the full 60. But Ole Miss can run the ball. Lane Kiffin is that good a coach, and he adapts to the personnel that he has. He's not stubborn, hard-headed, tries to do stuff he can't do because he doesn't have the right personnel. We've seen coaches like that. They're not long for the coaching world. But I want your thoughts on that. And as you look at game day, by the way, Kevin, from Clemson, Calhoun Hall on the campus there at Clemson looks just like Sanford Hall at Auburn. No coincidence that John Heisman left Auburn, went to Clemson, took the colors. They exchanged the blue for purple. A lot of similarities. And ain't a mistake, they call it Auburn on the Lake, Clemson. But anyway, let's get back to Ole Miss, Kentucky, Kevin, because I know you've got a beat on that matchup.
great take, Kevin Dugdine. Again, I was curious to take you up to the proverbial 10,000 foot level and look at the SEC strategic landscape for a minute. And let me start with a compliment that's very Captain Obvious, that Nick Saban has established a dominance. You start with, and I'll do this for my friend Duff, you start with his championship run at LSU, and then, goodness gracious, the dynasty work he's done at Alabama. I don't think we're likely in my lifetime to see that even nipped at the heels unless Kirby Smart is able to get on a really big run, which is not impossible. But Saban can't coach for 15 more years, or maybe he can. I don't know. But as you see that eventuality and the sequencing of that inevitable disruption at Alabama, and it would be one of the most remarkable things in history of the SEC if Alabama transitions seamlessly and just keeps rolling. But as you look around the league, obviously Kirby Smart is in a perfect position. But do you see other programs that have the potential, if they make the right moves, to change the balance of power going forward in the SEC?
That's true.
To the point we should go 3-9 more often.
Hey, Kevin, Frank Duffy here, and let me tell you, I think the really interesting game today is going to be Texas A&M and Mississippi State, because I think Mississippi State might keep this Jimbo reeling going. And let me tell you something, Jimbo Fisher is a lucky man that Arkansas's kicker missed that field goal, because all hell would be breaking loose right now in College Station. So as we look at this landscape going forward, the expectations over there in College Station have to be through the roof. I mean, that's the best team that money can buy. And if they're going to not have the success, already having one loss, almost unthinkable this early in the season, and what could have been a second loss last week, if they stub their toe against Mississippi State and Mike Leach, which I think there's a good chance, I've taken the 4 points. Speak to Texas A&M and what their future is going to hold, because I'm telling you, it's going to be hard to get rid of Jimbo with that contract. But let me tell you, that's going to be a hot seat as well if he doesn't right that ship. Oh, good. That's
Well, one thing for sure, and we have our great friend, I love him, Olin Buchanan, TexAgs.com. But you got to say this: they're just Auburn with a higher paid coach. 8-4, 8-5. I mean, that's what they are. And I don't know what it is. Maybe it's those cheerleaders' uniforms that look like orderlies from One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. But Kevin, I that's right. But I just look at it. You have every imaginable resource at your disposal. You have a room full of J.R. Ewings hemorrhaging with oil money. You have so much. You have everything the SEC is: history, traditions, heroes. 10,000 Corps cadets. They have everything. Everybody stands the whole game, but they're Humpty Dumpty, man. They just can't get over the wall, and it's just yeah. And again, yeah, they've got talent, but this is year 5, man. I mean, what are you waiting on? I mean, they're just Kevin. I don't see it. Yeah, and Kevin, it just year after year you see the same thing at A&M. All these excuses. And then again, Jimmy's right about why are you playing Haynes King at the beginning of the season? And Max Johnson's clearly the better quarterback. I mean, who's got pictures of who? I mean, Kevin, that's all I can say. Yes. Kevin. Okay. Okay. What I'm Jimmy, can you hear me? Okay. Well, okay. We got it. We're having some technical issues here right now. I'm looking here at Texas A&M, and I'm looking at the SEC landscape. Everybody in the preseason was trying to pick A&M as to be the threat to knock Alabama off their perch at the top of the SEC West, and I just didn't buy into it. I thought Arkansas would be. Now they lost to A&M last week, missed a field goal there late, and they got Alabama coming. I mean, they're in danger of losing 2 in a row, but still a lot of football to be played in the SEC this year.
Hey, Kevin. Hey, Kevin. Yeah, I don't think we can hear y'all. That there's some technical difficulty on your end. Well, and to your point, Rob, the SEC West, and look, the SEC East is definitely making a move up. I think we haven't really focused much on Tennessee. I think the story that's going on really that's very interesting in the SEC this year, of course, is what's going on in Knoxville, and they're kind of laying in wait to come into LSU next Saturday morning. But I think this discussion about Texas A&M is all fool's gold. I mean, we've talked about it for 5 years now, right? About what Jimbo's going to do. And I think I'll make a prediction. I think Arkansas has a better chance of establishing themselves as a force in the SEC West before Texas A&M does. And look, Nick Saban in Alabama is always going to be the gold standard. It's going to be the gold standard until the goat hangs up his hooves. But you've got all these teams in the SEC West, and if Auburn can make a good hire coming up, you have the ability for them to get back in the mix. There's too much competition going on over there, for Texas A&M not to take a step forward with the type of recruiting class they have. And Rob is correct when he states there's too much money in those back smoke-filled rooms in College Station and in all that oils area in Texas for them not to be doing this type of results. And let me tell you, if he doesn't get it done, there's enough money over in College Station that they can cut him a check to get rid of him, and they'll do it punitively. I'm telling you, it was like when Texas A&M came into LSU, and I was in Tiger Stadium last year, that last game of the season. And let me tell you, I heard the grumbling sitting in there when LSU came back and won that ball game, and without a missed field goal by Arkansas, and I'm telling you, hear me out. Both Doug and I have both talked about this. Mississippi State has a damn good shot today of upsetting Texas A&M. And if they lose against Alabama next week, and they've sitting there with 3 losses, which should have been 4, let me tell you something. You will see a hot seat under Jimbo's hiney. I'm telling you right now, there's going to be grumblings. There's too much money at stake in College Station for it not to be.
Yeah, and we're working on technical challenges. But to your point, Frank Duffy, you can't have it both ways. Head coaches, with the help of your very talented agents, Jimmy Sexton's legendary on that. We've gotten it to the point where head coaches can command $5 to $10 million a year with long contracts, outrageous buyouts, and
No doubt.
before he got it rolling, and he was looking awfully Jimbo Fisher-esque, dare I say.
Could have missed out on 2 natties.
At that point, winning some, but he finally got facilities and the coaching talent and especially recruiting going. So it's almost impossible to be that patient nowadays.
Yeah, there's no
Yeah, and I agree. And we're going to go to a break here in a second. Sorry for the technical difficulties. Can't imagine what it is, and I've got a good idea. We're going to be back and talk more on this football Saturday in week 5. Ripley's, believe it or not, the unbelievable can happen on a college football. I will say this. It is a college football, the first or second Saturday in October is when the really weird stuff starts happening. And if you bet a lot, don't bet your hair today. The loser shaves his head match. We'll be back right after this.
Oh.
Okay. I
got no hair to bet.
I don't know what it is that is causing.
Kitchens and bathrooms make a home, and the design teams at Kitchens Unlimited know how to make kitchens and baths. They know it all because they have seen it all. Kitchens Unlimited has been designing and remodeling the Mid-South's kitchens and baths for over 50 years. Check out their showroom at 3550 Summer Avenue or visit them on the web at kitchensunlimited.net.
If you have a crash, dent or ding, go to G.E. Patterson and BBG for Tom Martin's Body Shop.
Come on down to Hewlett & Dunn Boot and Clothing Company, located on Historical Square in Collierville, Tennessee. Hewlett & Dunn is the second largest Filson dealer in the Southeast, stocked with Southern brands you know and trust. And a new inventory arriving all the time. Do yourself or someone you know and love a favor and visit this store. Open Monday through Saturday, 10 a.m. to 5 p.m.
Red River Ford and Toyota, located in Wynne, Arkansas. If you're in the market for a new or used car, truck, or SUV, call, go online, or drop by and see them. Located 45 minutes from Memphis, go off the 4-city exit on I-40 and go north about 15 minutes on Highway 1. Easy to work with and still believe in customer service. If you live out of town, they will deliver your vehicle to you. RedRiverFordToyota.com. Just see what they can do.
As an agricultural producer, no matter where you farm, minimum tillage is a primary concern each and every season. At House Industries in Cherry Valley, Arkansas, we manufacture equipment to help you maximize efficiency when planting and watering a crop. Pieces like the pulverizer, bedder roller, 3-bar do-all, and bed conditioner assist you in optimizing seedbed preparation and ultimately your bottom line. Visit HouseIndustriesInc.com to locate the dealer nearest you.
House Industries, breaking ground.
Sidelines with Rob Browne. Talk sporty to me.
All right, Rob Browne back here with you on this Saturday. What a wild one. It is the first Saturday in October. It's the first day of October. A lot of weird stuff happening. We got weird stuff happening on the lines. Kevin Skarbinski, great stuff as always. Love having Kevin and getting back on again next week. Always just great stuff with him. Frank, you're right. Kevin talks like he writes. And the passion and just the smarts that he has, true grit journalism. Doug Dean, Frank Duffy here with me, my producer at the moment, Audrey, doing the best that she can. We're doing the best that we can. But Buddy Martin, GatorbaitMedia.com, is on with us right now down in Ocala. And Buddy, I'm gonna tell you what, glad you're with us because I know during the summer you went about, I think, 11 days in a row with no air conditioning, and you won the Mr. Humidity contest for our callers. And now you're down there. You had that hurricane rip through Florida. I don't know how much rain or whatever you got in Ocala, Franz Beard in Gainesville, and Ben Troop up in Savannah. But I thought prayers with you. Buddy's in that studio, man. He looks great, and he's wearing his orangebluebloods.com. Buddy, let's talk some college football if we must.
I'm pointing to my hat, which says TV, for it ain't Terry Bradshaw and it ain't Tom Brady. It's Tampa Bay. The Rays clinched last night. I know everybody around there is a Braves fan, but I'm an inveterate Rays fan. I watch them. I don't cover them. I watch them just because I like baseball, and that's where I get my nighttime enjoyment. But yes, we're high and dry and very grateful for that here in Ocala. We didn't get touched at all. We've had, as you know, in our past, we had a big tree fall on us recently.
I was wearing his Tampa Bay hat. Rays clinched last night. Did the Braves get the win? I fell asleep. Okay, they were winning big.
No, they won 5-2. 5-2.
It's kind of that time of year that we really love. Football season's getting cranked up. Major League Baseball is going into the playoffs. Next month, we'll have the World Series. So it's a great time of year. And Braves fans are just like Braves fans are
the football fans in the Southeast. Bookends. Braves on the East, on the West, the Cardinals, and everywhere in between. You got to decide who's your team.
Rob, I tell you what, I'm a big Braves fan. I go to about 20 games a year with 680 The Fan, and let me tell you something. We are all square right now with those nasty New York Mets, and it was a great game last night. Max Fried pitched a gem of a game. We watched it here at Doug's Lake House. We had some great tenderloin. We had some great wine. We were watching the Braves game, and let me tell you something. All square. You got the game today. And let me tell you, you got to give the Mets some credit. They're pitching Scherzer. They're trying to get the kill shot because don't forget, Braves fans, they've got the tiebreaker, right? So we've got to get 2 games up. We've got to, if we can sweep this Mets series, I'll feel a lot better going to play the Nats up in in the Marlins next week. But here's the thing: is that on Game 3 we got Charlie Martin going, and Charlie Martin has been pitching really great baseball. And even if we lose tonight against Scherzer, because look, there's no disrespect if we lose to him. He's a great pitcher. But let me tell you, if we come in and we beat the Mets on Sunday, I'll take my chances, Doug. If we're up, 2 games going into that final series, I'll take our chances. And let me tell you something, Rob, it's critically important, as you know, being a baseball fan, you do not want to get into that wild card series because your pitchers get out of line, you don't have your setup, and you got those extra days. Because look, Acuna's still having problems with that knee, right? And you got to have those young players. These kids have not played the type of series that they've had 162 games. So if we can get that series off and get into that next series and not have to play wild card, that is absolutely huge for Braves fans. So, buddy, I love you. I'm watching you, Tampa Bay Rays. And, buddy, you remember, I know we can't get you on air, but I went and watched that series when you guys played the Guardians when they came into town. I was there at Trop Field. And let me tell you something. There's an excitement. Indoor baseball, I don't like it, but I will tell you, Tampa Bay was rocking and rolling. So, buddy, I'm going to make a deal with you, pal. If Tampa Bay, again, host some games in the playoffs, I'm going to come down and you and I are going to sit there and have a dog and a beer. I'm coming down to Brandon. And look, I'm going to swing through Birmingham. I'm going to get Doug and we're coming down. We'll get Rob. We'll get Rob over from Cherry Farms to come over. We're going to come and watch a game with you, buddy. But we're going to force you to get out there. You might not be covering them, but you're going to get your butt there in Trop Field.
Yeah, I do try to go there. I don't know if you can hear me now or not, but
yeah, we got you, buddy.
All right. Yeah, I do try to get there. My daughter is older daughter and my grandson. We go once or twice a year. I don't do much for fun when it comes to covering and going to ball games, but that's one thing I do allow. I don't have to think about what I'm going to write. I don't have to worry about what my sidebar and column is going to be. I just watch baseball. Now, look, I'm going to tell you, I've been involved in Braves baseball a long time. I was there when they came to Atlanta. I remember when the mayor of Atlanta said, we built a stadium on land we didn't own for a team we didn't have when they brought the Braves there. And I was there when they came in, and I was there for the Aaron home run. Have a little background. But here's why I love what they're doing with the Rays. And I'll get off the subject and talk football. This team has done it with more injuries and more. They have I don't know how, they're one of the lowest payrolls in baseball. And they have had players. At one time, they had the 4 best players out. 2 of them still are. They keep bringing guys up from the minor leagues, making a deal for some free agent, and strapping it on and going and playing and competing. And that they clinched last night a wild card with what they've gone through with. Has been Kevin Cash has done a phenomenal job as a manager. The front offices. They bring a guy up from Durham. You never heard of, and he'll go 3 for 4. I mean, it's incredible what they've done with their young players. So I root for stories. I like the Rays, but I root for this story for in an age where everything's about money. The Tampa Bay Rays are not about money.
What you guys do with a small payroll, buddy, is really incredible. And it's amazing how many times you guys cycle and because of that small payroll, but then come back. The cream always rises to the top. I think you guys have a great shot at a run this year. I really do with what I'm seeing. Y'all's pitching is good, and y'all get clutch hitting, and that's the important thing. Y'all's 2-out run production this year has been impressive.
I'm still mad at the Braves for getting rid of Freddie Freeman, though. That was a bad decision, and Freddie's bad about it, too, by the way. So, yeah, we'll see. So you mentioned the cream rising to the top, okay? Rob, this is exactly what we're going to start to see in the SEC now. As we know, the many stories we got going on right now. There's so many good stories around the league. There's some really good games today. I mean, I think Lane Kiffin and Ole Miss, this is difficult to believe. They're kind of under the radar. They could be a really good football team. And when we're all worried about Florida and Auburn and just someone, there's some good football teams. I don't believe in Kentucky 100%. I think Ole Miss might expose them a little bit today, but I can't deny that Mark Stoops has done a phenomenal job there, and all props to what he's done. And his scheme against Florida was really – he out-coached Billy Napier, one of the reasons that they won that game. There's many, many other good stories, not the least of which in Tuscaloosa and in Fayetteville and all around the league. It's going to be interesting. These next few weeks, the cream is going to rise to the top.
Well, it's the 5th Saturday, and that a lot of coaches will tell you that's probably the first time we really should have rankings nationally. But it's fun in the offseason, in the preseason, we all know before the players have taken showers after the national championship game, there's already a way too early top 25 for the coming season. But it keeps interest up there. Buddy, Billy Napier he's a coach. He's a player's coach. His kids love him. I could see it. I like it. Frank calls him a gym rat. And I like what Brad Nessler said about 15 or 20 members of his family were up in the stands at Neyland Stadium. He said, well, I'll tell you one thing. They all go to the same barber. They all look alike. You know, I know a thing or two about a bad haircut, but I mean, you know, I tell you what, those guys never quit fighting. And find me a coach, Pat Dye, Nick Saban, Dabo Swinney, Kirby Smart. Well, he was 8-5 his first year, but a lot of times you're lucky to be 500. The reason you got the job is the guy that was there before you left a mess behind. My message to the Florida fan base is, you got something special in this guy. He's just I mean, I've met him one time at media days. This guy you want to play for, you want to give everything you've got. And he's and I'm not saying this to patronize you. I don't do that. I'm a truth broker. I love this guy as a coach. Man, I wish Auburn would have hired him last year, 2 years ago.
Well, you're right. But here's the thing. That's that side. You know where I stand. Here's the other side in the middle. And that is that right now, Billy Napier's 2-2. That's what it is. 2-2 against a schedule that was probably the toughest in the country with 3 ranked teams is not bad. But it's what you do from here forward. Billy's getting paid to see what he can do now. Obviously, the postponed game to tomorrow at Eastern Washington should not be a problem. We don't know that. Obviously, Missouri should not be a problem. There are games, but there are games to be that will define who they are. Now, I picked this team to be 8-4. Okay, that was a little bit of a reach because it's between 7 and 8, and I went 8, and I think Frank did too. But I think the thing is, there's losable games. We know they got to play Georgia. That's probably an L. We know they got to play LSU. We'll see. That's kind of a toss-up right now. And right now, I would favor A&M because where they're playing. So there's 3 losable games right there. And look, Florida State now is suddenly playing well. I'm not buying in on the Seminoles yet, but I will say they were 0-4 a year ago, and now they're 4-0, and they're ranked. So you can't ignore them. So what is done now is where you make your money. What is this team going to be? On the other side of that coin, if I may, I wrote a column yesterday about the Florida fan base. First and foremost, prayers and thoughts to all of our people in the state of Florida for this horrible, horrible hurricane. I went through Charlie. I was there for it. I thought I was going to die. I lived down in Punta Gorda when it came through. This storm was so much bigger that you could take Charlie, as devastating as it was. My wife and I were terrorized. We were holding each other thinking we might die if the hurricane hit our house, our neighborhood. But you could take Charlie, and it will fit inside the eye of Ian. That's how huge this hurricane was. And the devastation, you haven't even seen the pictures yet. It has wiped out all of Fort Myers Beach. I mean, everything, hotels, everything. And the devastation is beyond belief. And there's been somewhere around 40-something deaths. And luckily, the hurricane went out the other side and wasn't as devastating. But what it did to Lee County, what it did to Charlotte County in that area down there was unbelievable. So our thoughts and prayers about that. Now, if I may, I know a thing about hurricanes and football in the state. I've been through them for a million years. I remember 2004 when they had 4 hurricanes at one time, including Charlie. And I know these things are unpredictable and devastating. And as much as I love football, as much as I say it's more important than life and death, it's not. Hurricanes are life and death and destruction. Football is a game. You know about them in Katrina, Frank, what happened there. So this is a really, really, really bad thing. Having said that, now we go forward. What has to happen is the fan base needs a dose of reality. Last week, the mother of Trevor Etienne, how do you say it, Frank? Etienne?
It's Sean. And you're right. I heard about that, buddy.
Yeah. She wrote a letter to the fan base, basically, on social media, and pretty much said, I don't believe what y'all are doing. Don't y'all believe in anything around here? Now, here's why that's important. First of all, it's bad when some of the negative nabobs get on there.
I heard the things that were being said in the stands.
Right. So some of the, but here's the thing. Gator fan base, keep this in mind. A lot of them don't know about hurricanes. As they did the updates, they had to tell people, here's what a Category 4 means. I'm from Cleveland. I ain't ever been through one of these before. It's very similar in the Gator fan base. There's a whole lot of people who are new, who don't understand what it is in the culture, just like they do at LSU. I wrote about the Edgeon family and about how they're a part of football royalty with their son plays for the Jaguars and so on and so forth. And I wrote, be careful, because if you anger parents, you anger recruits, you anger people with your unbecoming conduct as a Gator fan, it will cost you, because they can now go down and say, I'm out, I'm going to the transfer portal. Gone. Why? Because the negativity of a fan base can drive people away. So that's on you, folks. Keep that in mind. It's a different world today, guys, than what it used to be in college football.
Buddy, a great take, and obviously our prayers and thoughts are with the Sunshine State. And I should add the Carolinas. That was a Cat 1, but that can wreak a lot of havoc in its own right. But it's historic what Ian brought. That was a nasty storm, putting it mildly. But back to football, and I'm with Rob. I think the hard thing for fan bases, and sometimes maybe even players, the leaders on any given team, in the first year of a coach, there's, as Rob said, there's a reason you change coaches. There's some problems and there's some rebuilding, and sometimes it's cultural rebuilding, not just stockpiling talent. So with that in mind, I'd be curious what Coach Napier, and I believe, by the way, he's going to bring Florida back to greatness. I think it just requires a little patience. But what is his recruiting strategy? You're sitting there in a state that's as talent rich as Florida, and yet because there's some resurgent programs and there's always going to be poaching from other programs in the state of Florida, does Napier intend to focus heavily just on the Sunshine State, or is he going to recruit nationally where the great players are? Your thoughts on the recruiting?
That's a great comment and a great thought. And it's exactly what he's doing. He's drawing that circle around that area. You know, that you could do concentric circle around the Southeast, Georgia and Florida. He wants all the good players, obviously, everywhere, but he wants to make sure he gets the Florida guys. He is making inroads to places like IMG. Now, IMG is interesting because they're not Florida kids. They're from out of state mostly. Some of them are Florida kids, but for some reason, Dan Mullen never bothered to recruit it. I don't know what the deal was. And so now Billy has shored that up. He's got a couple of 5-stars in mind. He's got one from there already. He's also making sure that the local kids and this area of Orlando, Jacksonville, Tampa, particularly, and the concentric
buddy, hold those thoughts. We got to take a quick commercial break, because I like what you're saying about IMG. It's like the Foreign Legion. We're going to be right back to talk.
Red River Ford and Toyota, located in Wynne, Arkansas. If you're in the market for a new or used car, truck, or SUV, call, go online, or drop by and see them. Located 45 minutes from Memphis, go off the 4-city exit on I-40 and go north about 15 minutes on Highway 1. Easy to work with and still believe in customer service. If you live out of town, they will deliver your vehicle to you. RedRiverFordToyota.com. Just see what they can do.
Strengthen your seed zone this spring with quality tillage equipment from House Industries. Located in Cherry Valley, Arkansas, House Industries specializes in manufacturing superior equipment that will minimize your downtime and keep you working in the field. To ensure the highest quality control, all design, fabrication, and testing takes place in a 99,000 square foot manufacturing facility located right here in the heart of the Delta. Locate your nearest House equipment dealer online at houseindustriesinc.com.
House Industries, breaking ground.
Sidelines with Rob Browne. Talk sporty to me.
All right, Rob Browne from Lake Martin with Doug Dean, Frank Duffy. Been a great show so far with Stat Tiger, Jimmy Hodge on with us, and Kevin Skarbinski. And now Buddy Martin, the man. He is a great writer. Again, Frank, you made a great point. Kevin talks like he writes. Buddy paints a story while he's talking, and he's an incredible writer. You know, again, repetition's the mother of all skill. Buddy, I'm telling you what, man, when you're on here, common sense is on fire. And I like what Travis Ashon, Tanner Smith, and Blake Kleinpeter, two great Cajun names, members of the Cherry Farm from Lake Charles, Louisiana, say it's Ashon. But I digress. But Buddy, you're right. And you know, the Buddy Martin Show, Monday through Thursday nights, 9 p.m. Eastern on Facebook. Sign up on Twitter. Listen to this show. I know a lot of us are glued to these nightly shows. Personally, I'm watching Me TV, Green Acres, Gomer Pyle, Andy Griffith Show. But I'm watching that Buddy Martin Show. I love it. Franz Beard, Ben Troop. You have Steve Spurrier on there. You have a lot of great guests. But again, thank you for circling the wagons on common sense. So now I'm going to turn the mic over to our esteemed colleague, guest, Dr. Buddy Martin, and let him wax eloquently as long as he wants to until we run out of airtime.
Well, I don't know if you want that a bit. Thank you for the kind words. I appreciate that. Not necessarily worthy, but I want to tell you that my great-great-grandfather from Alabama, Lake Martin, was named after him.
Wow.
That's a guess.
Bombshell.
Not really, just a joke, but you went for it. You got the idea, right?
Hey, you had us, man.
I do have some folks there. Now, I did have some Martins in there, Baptist preachers and what have you, all up and down in Op and all the way up and all around Alabama. So, yeah, for another time. Look,
Buddy, you just sank a treble hook in my jaw with that.
Yeah, I've never been to Lake Martin. I have friends who live around there, but I've never been. But anyway, I know it's a hot spot. You guys look like you're having a good time. So let me just say this, and I get off of here. Can let people talk who got more sense and better stuff. But first of all, let me just remind folks who might have been watching Orange and Blue Blood Sunday with Ben Troop and I and Lauren Meadows, which has been on at 9:30 Sunday mornings because of the game obviously being moved to Sunday. We will now move Orange and Blue Bloods to Monday. So we'll be on Monday morning at 9:30. And we're not on Twitter all the time, but we are on Facebook. So just Google us if you can find us. Great. We're on there for an hour. And my son's done a bunch of little reels and stuff on the Facebook as well. So anyway, so thanks for that. And by the way, thank you to all you people who signed up in recent weeks. I don't know where they've been coming from, maybe from you, but thanks for the people supporting Gator because that's what we do. Now, having got the gratuitous plug out of the way, just back to the point that Frank was asking about, and that is the fact about recruiting. I'm no expert on this, but I can tell you that I know his strategy, and I know in talking, as you know, we've done a lot of talking to players this year. We've had 27 players on our show before the season started, and we know we get the reports, and there are a lot of names and types of players that are showing up and taking visits to Florida that they haven't had visit before. Now, that doesn't mean they're going to be Gators, but they're expecting a really upgrade in their recruiting class next time around. I'll be honest with you. I wish Billy done a little bit more with the transfer portal. He did pick up some key players. The ones he got, Ricky Pearsall, obviously, and Johnson, et cetera, had made a big difference, but they needed about 5 more. And they're short on personnel. I like the effort they're giving, but like I said earlier, they've got to – Billy now is going to earn his money. He's got 8 games to go. He needs to win 6 of those if he can. And that's a tall order given what he's got on defense because we saw in Tennessee he's got some defensive liabilities, really some awfully big holes to open up there. They've moved the lineup around. They've changed some of the starters on defense. But the defense, although Patrick Troney is considered to be one of the best, Corey Raymond, one of the best, etc. They got coaches. They have got to do a lot of coaching up because they're making mental mistakes on defense. And Billy said a number of times, we have 10 guys doing it right and 1 guy doing it wrong. If you watch the Tennessee game at all, you saw these gaping holes. I mean, they weren't gaping. Sometimes it was whole half a field where, they're wide open. And you wonder what happened there. And they obviously left the quarterback a lot of running room. So it's a work in progress.
Buddy, I'll say I watched every play of that game. I watched every play. And what struck me about the Billy Napier-led team, they never quit. Even when Tennessee was way up, they kept coming. And I tell you what, they were one Hail Mary away from putting that game in the win column. And that was, to me, impressive. When Billy Napier has them playing hard and not giving up, that is a good sign for the future of Florida football.
No doubt about it. You're right. That's what I wrote about. But a lot of people don't feel quite that positive. But that's just fans. But here's what I loved about it. Heart. Show me some heart. Gator fans are tired of players opting out and throwing shoes and doing the things they did under Dan Mullen, dressing different in colored socks. Billy's put an end to that. And what I loved, and Billy said it best, he said, we came with 70 people. We put the ball down and we competed. That's exactly it. When you got your guy, you were down by what at one point in time, 17. When you got your guy, you're back in the game and you're throwing to the end zone, the checkerboard end zone for the win. Yes. After that shows me everything I wanted to see right there. And what if he does complete that last pass? My gosh, did you see the fear in the eyes of those Tennessee fans? I mean, they were scared to death. Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Buddy, Doug Dean again, kind of picking up on Frank's great point. It seemed to me like, you can always see the talent that just oozes from this quarterback, Anthony Richardson, but there was some maturation required, and Billy Napier knows that. The quarterback knows that. It seemed to me that's even in a loss, that's a game where I think he found himself toward the end to keep your composure and keep battling. It doesn't guarantee you any win going forward because at the end of the day, it comes down to talent, usually in the trenches especially, and lucky breaks. But do you see this kid finishing the year strong as I do?
I do, and here's why. What Billy said, and by the way, he also said this in the press conference, Anthony did. What was different? He way over prepared for this game. He studied before, but this is a new level of preparation. They watched film as a team together. They did things. They had discussions. They looked for trends, tendencies, whatever. And he didn't play scared. He went out and put the ball up and really only made one mistake. I don't count the last interception. That was a Hail Mary, and he got it picked off. The fumble he made was he took the wrong route. He was supposed to go wider, and he cut in, and he got hammered, and he fumbled the ball and coughed it up. But they came back from that. And that onside kick, which Steve Weinbach pulled out of his air with a left hand, was a phenomenal. 17 seconds to go, and all of a sudden the Tennessee Vols are throwing up on themselves. Saying, oh, my gosh, don't tell me this is going to happen again. When you beat them 60 out of 70, that's how you think. That's like Tiger fans think about when they get their teams in Baton Rouge at home stadium. They're like going to beat them. And said, here we go again, the Tigers. So I think I see a lot of positive signs. But having said all that, and I'm as positive as you'll find, you still got to do it. You still go to hang up the W's. You get the job done. And we cannot assume anything except to say, Rob, you're the financial guy. I talked to my guy this morning who's a banker friend of mine about this and see what I said. Well, what do you think? He said, well, it looked better. I said, yeah, it's kind of a trending upward. He says, no, one game is not a trend. And that is the point. It's not a trend yet. It's got to be a trend. They got to win one. They got to hang some numbers up. They got to get some W's. And then it will be verified. Remember what they expect you to do online now. You got to verify who you are. So that's what we're looking for.
Hey, buddy, I know you like a good slab of ribs or a Boston butt or a brisket. Michael Jordan, MJ up at the Cherry Farms out there right now on the big black barrel, making a heap and helping of food. And you talk about a salesman. He does what I do with his big clients. It's relationships. You take them hunting. You take them fishing. You feed them. He feeds like nobody. If you ever come to the Cherry Farm, he's already said, I'm laying out the orange and blue carpet for Buddy to come inside, and I'm going to have him a slab of ribs, a brisket, a Boston butt. We're going to have him some boudin, some duck wrapped with jalapeno cream cheese, diced onions, peppers wrapped in bacon, and a Lipitor and a cold beer.
Well, hey, buddy, you should have been here last night. Doug put on a friggin' tenderloin.
What time is the next flight to Memphis? I fly to Memphis, or where do I go?
Venison sausage that was outstanding. It's been incredible. I had to go walk this morning just to kind of walk off some of the French bread and the steak.
Yeah. I'm gonna know what time the next flight is to Memphis, or how do I get to the Cherry Farm?
Look, MJ goes, the guys at the Cherry Farm, a lot of our listeners, they go, my favorite guy you have on is Buddy Martin, because he comes on and he's like, all right, everybody, listen up. You're like the coach. You need to have one of those sweatshirts that says coach on it with a hat and a
whistle. Yeah.
But I'm going to tell you something, buddy, you are making so many great points. It's just a litany of them. Okay. Because the Gator culture, I mentioned this to Frank while Doug was talking with you, that you get those guys' motors running now, and as you start filling in more talented players at different positions on offense, defense, and special teams, that Billy Napier get after your ass culture is going to dominate. And I've seen the Gators from 1989 to 2009 won more games than any other program in college football. 7 or 8 SEC titles, 3 national championships. They can do it. They will do it again. Now, look, I'm an Auburn man. You know that. But I love to see – I get excited about my school. I'm pulling for the brand. I'm not going to see Auburn play the other team. You understand that. These young people that are just thinking, well, I'm bored. Listen, you can't do that in your job. Look at on-the-job training as going to the stadium. You want your team to play a full 60, stay a full 60. Take the loyalty pledge, buddy. Talk about that. I love it.
I heard today. I heard Lane Kiffin say, "Don't leave before the game is over." I thought about you.
There you go.
He was talking about it. We it's a little tough right now to get people convinced. But we say, it's the 2%, 3% of the fans that really are the hardcore. And the people that we say, if you really want to help the team out and you want to commit to being an elite fan, then become an orange and blue blood. And we give them a pledge to take and say, okay, here's the pledge. It's very simple. It's like, I believe with the boys and girls from old Florida and all kinds of weather, and I won't back down. Say it, chomp it, and you're in as an orange and blue blood, which means you don't require anything of you except to say, when you join anything, a church, a political party, whatever, you say, what's next? What can I do? You understand the core values. You understand what it's about. Now, the rest of the fans are going to blow like the shaft. They're going to come and go. That's how fans are. But you need that core group of fans to get behind you. Now, here's the thing. I'll let you guys go after this. I know we're running out of time. I just want to say that some people had difficulty with Billy going for 2 points. Some had difficulty going on 4th round, whatever, Well, it turned out he went for it on 4th down 6 times and made 5, okay? Analytically, you speak the numbers. You don't get the ball back to Tennessee. They're moving the ball up and down the field on you. You got to keep what you can. And they did that successfully. They went for 2. People question that. Billy says, hey, look, we tipped our own ball. If we catch that ball, it's different. I said this before, and I'll say it again. I like that aggressive behavior. Absolutely. Maybe it doesn't necessarily agree with your coaching manual that you have or whatever you believe to be right, but you're telling me as a player, I'm going to give you every chance you can to win this game. If I got to go for it and not make it look like a fool as a coach, I'm willing to do that. It really lit up the players. They liked it. Most of the fans liked it. So I went to the source, the greatest coach in the history of Florida football, Steve Spurrier. I was at his restaurant last week, and I said, Coach, what did you think about that going for that on 4th down like that many times? He said, I wish I'd have done it more.
Damn right.
He said, the great Steve, I can't believe, buddy, you were in my head. I was about to ask a Spurrier question, but a comment on, I will tell you, speaking as an Auburn man, and I have a feeling I may be the exception of some Tennessee fans, the nature of that tough rivalry in Georgia, but we are the worst in college football for not having Steve Spurrier on the sidelines.
Yeah.
And he was just amazing. I've never seen every coach that's got any competitive fire really is disgusted with losing, but on a sideline when a game was getting away from Spurrier, despite his great coaching, I've never seen a more disgusted look on a coach's face, which is an awesome compliment. Yeah, the visors would fly. But do you think that Steve Spurrier, I'm going to pivot from that because Spurrier brought an offensive brand that forced change on the rest of the league if you were going to compete with those guys. And the product is better. I guess the product's better. I'd like to see some defense once in a while. But tell us, give us your elevator speech on what Billy Napier, once he gets his players in, what does Billy Napier want to do offensively given the state of the game today?
Well, we believe it's kind of like what he did at Louisiana. People say, well, that's no big deal. Well, let me tell you, the Sun Belt plays pretty good football, as we saw. Ask Texas A&M about that and a few others. Offensively, I think he wants to have a balanced offense. He wants to run the ball more, which he has done. They've been very successful at running the football, which Dan Mullen was not. He needs more help at the receiver position, the more deep threats, whatever. He wants his whole thing is execution and not having breakdowns at the position. It takes reps. Eastern Washington is not much of a game, but for reps, it's very important because they got players that need. We've got some young safety starting, which, by the way, the safety play was not good at all. And I think he wants to win, and he wants to do it the right way, and that's the key.
Yeah, buddy. I'm sorry we run out of time, but I'm going to tell you what. We'll have you back on this week. You make so much sense. Steve Spurrier, we need people like him, people that are winners, people that want to go for it, people that have got guts. I love it. MJ just said, damn right. Let's get Buddy up to the cherry farm. He's going to he sent me down here with 6 slabs of ribs. We ate one of them yesterday. Buddy, I'm telling you, with what Frank and Frank and Doug are cooking, we've got food here. You will love it. But look, great show as always. Check him out.
Wait. I have one question. Do you have cherries at the cherry farm?
Yes, we do.
I want some cherries. I need some cherries.
We run out of time, though. Great show. Go out and help people. God bless you. We'll see you Monday. Thank you. Love.